Scott Hansen here from NFL Red Zone. I hope you're checking out 1 hour of 5-Yard Rush, one of the best podcasts on NFL football in the UK.
What is happening, Rush Nation? Here we are, start of a new week, as promised yesterday, that I will be going through some of the Charity Bowl scoring and getting that up to date for everyone. So they're all getting ready for charity fantasy football season. We're here. We're almost in July. It is a scorching hot day here in the UK. This is a pre-record because I've probably melted. So I thought I'd get this recorded and sorted in record time. Apologies if the fan noise is coming through. I'm not going to record without my fan on, so apologies for that. So I just wanted to just give you all a bit of a warning. This is going to be quite a short pod. It's not going to be very long. The idea of this is really just to give you the scoring and then access to the scoring as well, and give you sort of my takes on this as well. So for those of you that are in the Orkney Bowl, you would have realized there's some quirky sort of scoring in that. In the Orkney Charity Bowl, should be distinct that the Orkney Bowl and the Orkney Charity Bowl are two different leagues. The Orkney Bowl involves IDP and it's a long-standing tournament. I'm not in that, so I don't know all the ins and outs of that, and therefore can only help you so far. The Orkney Charity Bowl, which I am in, has access to everything that you need from it has basically it's for a charity component, raising money, and I think the winner of the previous year gets to choose the charity it's raising for this year. So in terms of it is quirky scoring. There's a lot of bonuses for long plays and long completions. How much of that is relevant versus not relevant, I guess, I'm going to break down now. I always find that when you get quirky scoring like this, people tend to overcomplicate it a little bit, and that does happen. So I guess going into it, I'm going to pull the sheet up now and you'll be able to see it. Now, what I will say about this particular tournament, I'm just going to put myself down here at the bottom, is when we're looking at the Orkney Bowl here, there is a lot of parts. Now, I've got a column here which is starting projections, and that's what my projection sheet could work out. So that's looking into account a lot of the standard sort of scoring settings that can be measured. And then there's a lot of the additionals on top, which is your rushing first downs, receiving first downs, 40-yard rushing bonus, 40-yard rushing touchdown bonus, 50-yard rushing touchdown bonus, 40-yard completion, 40-yard touchdown, 50-yard passing. These are passing, and then these are your receptions. And then a tiered PPR component. Here's what I would say about this, and I'm just going to scroll here to the end because this is a lot of the extra fields. A lot of you, as I just said, will get a bit nuts into some of this. I would say that it all kind of comes out in the wash. I've put some models together for the tier PPR, but effectively it doesn't make too much of a diff in the scoring, is what I've worked out. All of these bonuses, if you're looking at the numbers here, you're talking about 13, 5. These are over a season, so it's not really great numbers to really worry about. You're talking about less than 1 point a week. There are some players that get a bit of a bump here, Joe Burrow in sort of the long passing, which gives you a bit of a bump. Again, you're looking at these sort of numbers here, and you're looking at maybe 50, 60 points here, and you're looking at that thinking, well, over 17, that's 3 and a bit points per week. There's a bit of a mod in that where he therefore gets a bit of a jump over other guys. And then it's a question of, do I really want to lead into that? Or because it's more volatile, do I sit there and look at how I would play the other positions? So I think that's what's really key. I'm going to just sort of focus in on this bit here. Now, this is the total scoring based on my projections, which were updated today, and it was before the Jonnu Smith trade. But, it's still, I think, relevant. You can knock some points off for Jonnu Smith, but the rest of it's there. But this is the total score of what I'm getting for these players. Now, some of these you'll see like 2 decimals. That's because I've put a bit of a model in here for like tier PPR scoring, because of taking aggregates of a few years worth and just sort of modeling that number together to come up with what I think is a reasonable formula for these players. So that's where I've sort of got these sort of random numbers, layered in here. So where I've got to is effectively these numbers. These are the clear 1 and 2 is Jackson and Allen. They are, streets ahead of everybody else. They're very close together. You have a preference of one versus the other, then that's absolutely fine. Then you have Hurts and Daniels, again, clear tier ahead of everybody else. And then you have a clear running back ahead of everyone, which is Saquon. And he gets boosted by a lot of these bonuses for running backs here, these 50-yard touchdowns and 40 yards. What I will say is this is very volatile. There's 60 points in here that I think is very volatile. That is boosting him up quite significantly. Mm-hmm. If those don't go his way, he all of a sudden becomes very, very difficult to value. So what I would say is just be a bit conservative. He's 5th in total scoring, but I would be a bit conservative here. And I would say the same here with Joe Burrow jumps up here at this position. He is above Baker Mayfield, and I can see why you'd want to shoot for the moon there. Was what we saw last season kind of the best version of Joe Burrow? Does it decline? Does it not? It's hard to kind of say. And then the same goes with Chase as well, with these long touchdown receptions as well. Do they still occur in 2025? Likely they are too. So I feel more comfortable with Chase's number than I do with Barkley's, but because we've got multiple years to model that on. Christian McCaffrey, I aggressively rank Christian McCaffrey because I remember how good of a player he is. Some people will be really concerned about the injuries. That's fair. If you're not feeling Christian McCaffrey, then you can ignore this. I will caveat and say I have aggressively ranked him to be a top 3 player this year. At the position, Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor again is another player I would say I've aggressively ranked above consensus. So I want to caveat these numbers here as I go into it. I got Gibbs. Bo Nix gets a nice bump in here on some of these numbers. If you look at his overall number, it's not particularly high, but he gets, again, these long touchdowns as part of the Sean Payton offense. So again, plus with some rushing first downs, does that stay in 2025? His number for me is volatile, so just be a little careful here. Amon-Ra St. Brown over Justin Jefferson, you can flip that either way. Maybe you think that Amon-Ra St. Brown goes down a little bit without Ben Johnson. That's absolutely fair. You can take that whichever way you wish. But I think what you're seeing is QBs, and having 2 of them is very, very important, although it does really sort of plateau here in the Kyler Murray down to Drake May is split by very, very few points. So if you can get one of these top 4 QBs, you're in a really good spot. If not, you really need to get one of these 2 of Burrow and Mayfield. And if you don't, then you're effectively needing to get 2 of, and I'm going to throw Knicks into this pot of QBs. And I think you can get any 2. I don't think it matters, but I think you're going to need to get 2 to stay competitive. Because if not, the drop-off from here, like Jordan Love's not too bad. You can include him in that tier. But then the drop-off down to there is like Trevor Lawrence is 7 points, not huge. And then Caleb, but these are guys that really tear down. Again, you're seeing big jumps down to Cam Ward, to Matthew Stafford, and these numbers are starting to tumble quite quickly into these guys. And you're losing quite a lot of points at the beginning. So if you think they're here, for example, if you're starting with Sam Darnold against someone like Lamar Jackson, you're giving up 200 points at the position right there. So I think you've really got to anchor pretty quickly to get 2 of these guys to stem the bleed. If you've got one of these elite guys, you can load elsewhere. But if you can come back and get one of these guys, you're going to be in really good position. As you can see here, then, if we took the QBs sort of out of this actually QB strategy, going to have to go heavy on QB in this scoring format. It is quite a nice split. It is slightly leaned RB, but not too heavily. I don't think it's too much of a shock. And again, I've talked about some players I've got ranked aggressively. Christian McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor. Players I've got ranked aggressively. Alvin Kamara is another one I've got ranked aggressively, but could be a really good value on ADP versus some of these other guys. You can see here that getting a couple of these guys is going to be quite crucial to your bid. There are some elite wide receivers, but they do massively separate. So actually the angle of getting one of the top 6 wide receivers is huge. If we just focus on wide receiver, and then we'll come back to running back here. Chase is kind of in a world of its own. and then you've got this little run of 2 here. Then it's a big drop between these two, and it's a big drop between sort of these guys. So already here, once you're getting to like the Brian Thomas Jr. stage, you are starting to see drops quickly. Sort of almost these two, and it's almost 10 points down to this little tier, and then it starts to flatten out. So there is a real tier gap here in sort of the top 12 in the position. There is a tier gap. So getting one of these guys is optimal to your build. So you're going to need to go to be wide receiver and getting one of these 12. But then it does plateau out quite quickly, and it is a bit of a muchness when you start shopping in this tier. Is, Cortland Sutton giving you loads more than a Jordan Addison? No. Or a Matthew Golden, who's going to be available later, or a Cooper Kupp, or a Jacoby Myers, So you do have some here. I think there's some real values here. Again, Michael Pittman's a guy I've got aggressively ranked. He's a guy that could provide late round value. Deebo Samuel's going to provide late round value. Raheem Shaheed in this format will give you good late round value. And they're going to be much better values than the early values of Marvin Harrison Jr., Devontae Adams, even Devonta Smith. So, there's some good late round value in here. So this might be where you might be shopping for your wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, and loading up, because it looks like you're going to need to pivot to running back once you get one of those elite 12 and going regular and often here, because these guys are putting up the points, and there is a big drop when these start dropping. So there's already more scorers over 300 all the way down to Aaron Jones. And then, this starts to tumble pretty quickly. Once we get to Tony Pollard, it starts to really fall with Pacheco. And then we're into the job shares, and it falls quickly. So I think if you can load up and get 2, if not 3, from this little group here, I think you're going to be in a good space for your roster build. Tight end is relatively flat. Outside of the exceptions of Bowers and McBride, these two are separators. You can pay up for the separator. Is that going to give you a significant advantage over paying up for separators at RB? I don't think so, but there is the consistency model of they will deliver these. RBs is more volatile with injuries. Then this does drop off a cliff really quickly, these tight ends, but they do stay, together for a while, and these guys will be going late. So I feel you can really hold at tight end, and as long as you're getting down to like the Jake Ferguson, you're in a good spot. I do have Tyler Warren aggressively ranked over Corsten Loveland. That's a preference based on team need. So I think it's there. Evan Ingram, I think I would be thinking a good 20, 30, 40 points based on the offense he's going to. Jonnu Smith, not Evan Ingram. So that might be one to keep an eye on. But I'd be looking to get one of these guys in. But I wouldn't be paying up too high for them. A late round tight end might be a good play. So then we go back to the wide receivers. And again, you just got a lot of names here that you can kind of pick out late. So it's giving you a lot of options that you can go through and find the value. I'm going to share a sheet with just the positions and this total scoring. If you want access to all the data when it comes to like the first down bonuses and things like that, you can join our Patreon. That's patreon.com/5yardrush. I will give you access to that, so you'll be able to see it. But I'm just going to do the total points free with none of the intelligence, because it does take time to put this together. It takes time to do a podcast and money. And so, subscribing to our Patreon, you can subscribe for £1 a month, and you can get access to all of these beautiful custom sheets that I'm going to be doing for all the charity shots with all the different breakdowns of all the different categories. So if you are interested in this, you playing in a lot of leagues with this quirky data, I can tell you how I compile these numbers, and I can even do something for your league as well. So it gives you a way of being able to map this out. That's going to do it. I wanted to keep it short and breezy, and we have done. We've kept it under 15 minutes. So thank you so much. Please do sign up to your FFCC. It'd be great to have you in the tournament. I will be doing one of those shows probably next week before that. Still taking in entrance, but good luck for those taking part in the Orkney Charity Bowl today. I will be back later in the week with a Scott Fish Bowl and then a JTT Cup. So until then, Rush Nation, don't forget, as always, keep rushing.